We're driving through southern Somalia, the heart of the drought-affected area. 20 years ago, I left Somalia on foot, walking for days to flee violence and hunger. Now I'm here to talk to families escaping this new crisis. Mukhtar Rabi, the village elder, showed me where he used to water hundreds of cattle.
People from this village have died from starvation. The situation is unbearable.
Everywhere I look, the drought has destroyed life. Thousands of animals have starved to death. Amongst the bones, their last meal is now visible. Plastic bags were all they could find to eat. In the nearby village, most people have packed up and left. But I found Halima Abdi, a widow, sheltering from the sun.
Last year I had 500 goats, 60 cows and 50 camels. Now they're all gone. I've nothing.
But it's not just her animals she lost to the drought. She took me to see the head of the family, her eldest son. Powerless to prevent the collapse of their livelihood, Abdi has had a mental breakdown. He is now paralyzed with depression. The village children are too young to understand the threat of famine, but their grandmothers warned again and again the situation was becoming desperate. Harira Aden told me she had only just realized that I wasn't an aid worker bringing her food. Those who are able to go in search of food do. Further along the road, I met a large group of people striding across the desert bush, piled high with belongings. I asked them where they were heading.
There's lots of fighting and hunger in Somalia. We're going to Dadaab, where we hope to be safe, find food, education and medicine for our children.
I decided to walk with the Ibrahim family and hear more about their desperate decision to leave Somalia and head towards Dadaab in Kenya, the world's largest refugee camp. Abdi told me the family is from Dinsor, the epicenter of the famine. It's a 300-mile journey from his hometown to Dadaab.
We've been walking for 15 days. This is our 16th. We'll keep on going till we reach Dadaab.
After 10 hours of walking, the Ibrahim family sets up camp in the open. They prepare to cook small amounts of food donated along the route. It's time to rest for tomorrow's long walk. We're on the road again. Somalia's famine has particularly hurt the youngest, but Abdi's children tease me for not keeping up with them as they run barefooted. Fatuma gets a thorn in her foot, but they don't stop for long. As they approach Kenya's border town, everyone is in need of fresh water supplies.
It is day 17 for them, and day 2 for me. I'm already struggling, but I want to continue. For them, this is the long walk for a better life.
We stumble across a group of UN and other aid workers. They're scouting the border area for a new transit camp to process the thousands of families fleeing the drought. They ask Abdi's group what they need and promise to help. Setting herself down in the shade, Hawa Osman is hopeful someone can drive them the final miles to Dadaab. She's desperate not to walk anymore. From under her hijab, she reveals the youngest member of the group. Hassan was only 15 days old when their long trek began.
We were hoping they would help us with transport to Dadaab, but they haven't.
5 hours later, Abdi decides the wait for help will be too long.
After walking for more than 2 weeks, they are clearly exhausted. And the final destination, Dadaab, is only 50 miles away from here. But the road ahead is dangerous. There are bandits who regularly attack and loot the refugees.
I wish them a safe and speedy journey. I heard the following day everyone made it safely to the camp. Abdi and his family are just the latest of generations of Somalis driven out of their homeland by famine and war. This is Baydhabo, stronghold of the Islamist Al-Shabaab group, whose flag flies over most of drought-hit southern Somalia. Al-Shabaab say they are the legitimate authority of Somalia, but America and Britain accuse Al-Shabaab of being a terrorist organization. Caught in the middle, these Somalis fleeing the worst drought in 60 years. The old presidential palace has become a refugee camp that is swelling by the day. I am the first journalist to be allowed full access to these communities living under the control of Al-Shabaab since the famine was declared. I had heard stories of widespread desperation and hunger, especially amongst the children, but nothing prepared me for the shocking scenes once I entered the main hospital. When Khadija arrived here a week ago, she was in a terrible condition. She's gaining weight, but her mother Muhubba is worried she might still lose her. The UN says nearly 4 million Somalis are in danger of starvation, the majority of them children. Muhammad Janayo is in grave danger. His tiny body shows signs of acute malnutrition and dehydration. His big brother Mahmoud is there to comfort him, but years of not enough food has left him too, looking much younger than he is. Mahmoud is 16. My parents are out in the camp looking for food with my 4 other brothers and sisters, he tells me. It's the same story next door. Hamdi tells me she has been left to look after her sister, Safia.
Although we've saved many lives, 4, 5 or 6 children die and are buried every day. Some die of diarrhea, others lack of food.
The hospital had 6 rooms, full of mothers desperately trying to keep their children alive. With some help from the outside world, these doctors are able to save lives. But here in southern Somalia, natural disaster has been turned into famine by arguments over access. Many international aid agencies, including the World Food Programme, have pulled out of Al-Shabaab areas, accusing the group of extortion and intimidation. This is one of the most dangerous places in the world for aid workers to operate.
This is the WFP compound in Marka. It was the second largest base in southern Somalia. By this time of the year, it would have been very, very busy, but it's completely empty because they were kicked out of this area by Al-Shabaab.
Now the international donors are unwilling to rush money back into the area, fearing it will end up in the hands of militants linked to Al-Qaeda. In his first television interview with the Western media, I asked the Al-Shabaab spokesman if his group was deliberately obstructing the aid effort.
There is a drought, but it's not reached a famine. The famine has been averted due to support and aid from business and Somali communities.
He dismissed reports that Al-Shabaab have demanded taxes from aid agencies as just propaganda.
We've only refused those who are doing more harm than good, and those agencies with political agendas. We have allowed access to all other charities.
And as the authority, it is Al-Shabaab which decides who is allowed in. The group monitors throughout every process of the aid relief operation. Islamic Relief is one of the international agencies who have been able to bring supplies into the worst affected zone. With their own staff on the ground, they say they are confident none of their supplies are being diverted or taxed. I joined them on the first day as they distributed rations to 5,000 families in Baydhabo.
We really need sometimes to put politics aside, and we are in a humanitarian emergency. We really need to save life. When I come to Baydhabo and I find people really in need of aid, and I am not able to access funds and support, basically because somebody is fearing that funds are going to access Al-Shabaab, I think it's not humanistic, it's not very noble.
I wanted to travel to the second famine-hit region in southern Somalia to see if the situation was any better. K50 camp run by Al-Shabaab is packed with refugees displaced by the drought in Lower Shabelle. As in most of Somalia, Al-Shabaab are the local authority, and all aid agencies must cooperate with them in order to operate. However, aid organizations are adamant they themselves maintain control of the distribution. So, some international aid is now crossing the front line to the famine zone, but there still can't be a mass UN presence on the ground. New arrivals camp amongst the plastic pallets while they wait to be registered and provided with tents.
Amina and Hawa arrived yesterday from Tori, which is about 6 miles from here. They said they have lost everything they had, and they had to leave their homes.
A makeshift clinic is run by 2 volunteer doctors and their medical students. They say they are seeing an alarming rise in cholera-like cases. Irgio Kuso is in emergency treatment on the floor. Months of poor nutrition have left her body weak against disease.
The medical students they are trying to get the IV for rehydration, actually. So we are doing our best.
In an attempt to avoid the spread of disease and overcrowding in the camp, Al-Shabaab organizers are trying to encourage refugees to go back home. They'll give anyone returning extra rations and a lift to their village. Some refugees who have fled Al-Shabaab areas have accused the group of controlling their movements. The families here told me they volunteered to return home as they thought conditions would be better there. The Al-Shabaab man in charge of the refugee program in Lower Shabelle region said he's pleased over 1,000 families have taken up the offer.
If the people become accustomed to and wait for handouts, they'll become idle and not want to work. We encourage the people to become self-confident and productive.
In southern Somalia, where so many are barely surviving, the aid is trickling in. But it's only trickling in with the cooperation of Al-Shabaab. Aid organizations recognize it's impossible for them to operate without the group's help. Since the famine was declared, the Islamists have repeatedly been accused of hampering the relief effort. But during the short period I was there, I did not see any malpractice or corruption. In fact, many of the aid workers told me they actually appreciated Al-Shabaab's assistance. To put a stop to the disaster, these people need a whole-scale rescue effort. While the argument over access goes on, the long wait will continue. Jamal Osman, Channel 4 News, Southern Somalia.
نلوح والله ديغا نانيدا والله عبا نخروب والله هيرتا نبضون والله هد مايو نسدين والله سعدا لونكي كالي وحن لها نحن سدا آذنه نقبرنا فيو نسقان نرورا كوا في الليل أمانا ليو تناد نوع كستوي نلوشو تهي نولوه ونحش أجوغ نغانتي وار لهن دادو نحر وانا ليو نصيحة إيغا قدون نونكي كالي وحن لها نفواتي نحش كورتي نحنها توحيد سدو عبادة النوع والبابا نيوذو أوفيو نستغفر الله إيو نبيغا أدوغو صليا نونكي كالي وحن لها قال ذاك النوع أدون نالود لغا هلا إله وحا أوغو النروين نعمة إيمانك أو نفتو إباو قرطو نصيب رعيلتا نار لغا كرشيو أيا نار لغا كرشيو نحاريس الليو نعاودي جنة إيو نعفيق آخر له دادو نوعا قرطو نحن حتى توحيد سدو عبادة نوع والبابا نيوذو أوفيو.
When your dreams consistently turn to dust, they begin to cover the path we were meant to follow. Once a country with cluttered streets of peace, but now we face violence and defeat. Our dreams, again, crushed, so we fall asleep. Wake up, Somalia.
Survival is key to a country that feeds off pain, playing with fire to defuse a flame. Our youths Replacement pens for AKs. Somali Tulsa.
And resign from your position as the man behind the gun. Humble your knees and grind them like the women bleeding tears for their sons.
Wake up, Somalia. And let us soar into the highest elevation. Surpass expectation, rebuild the nation, so we as one can grow.
Dust off the gunpowder from your hands, re-ink your pens, extend your wealth and knowledge, and add your 2 cents. Somali Tulsa.
A brighter day where reality feels like you are in a day. Dreams no longer chase, but merely a footstep away. Somali Tulsa.
Wake up, Somalia, to the collision of colors that swathe the skies at sunrise.
From the nightmares that linger on and turn to cries.
To a promising vision where decisions are made without lies.
Wake up, Somalia.
Because divided we stand,
even further apart
we fall. Failure could unite us. So let the success of Wake Up Somalia be your call.
magacaygu waa Sahra Abdi Maxamuud waxaan bartaa community development team. Aniga u dhaxmarinaya dhalinyarada iyo maadada aan bartay ayaa waxaan ku horumarin karaa dalkayga. waxaan community-gayga iyo dalkayga u rajeynayaa mustaqbalka inay xaaladda ay hadda ku jirto iska bedesho insha Allah. aan helno dawlad dhexe oo cadaaliya sidii dawladda hore oo naga burburtay sidoo kale inuu horumar gaaro.
If we are going to see peaceful Somalia, empowering youth is very, very crucial and important.
Somalia's young people, aged 14 to 29, make up 42% of the total population and, given the right opportunities and support, have the potential to become a major driver for peace and stability.
waxbarashada xaggeeda haday wax bartaan qofka waxbarasho fiican barto horu kac fiican buu sameeynaya dhalinyarada doon muhiim bay ka muuqanaya sababtoo dadka aqoonta leh.
UNDP Somalia's Human Development Report finds that young Somalis resoundingly want to be heard and want to participate. They want to play a part in shaping the future of their nation.
It will start from education. If they think about empowering those people and give them the confidence and the tools, they can do something.
Higher education is blossoming, and against all odds, you meet young people who are pushing themselves through medical education, through legal education, through commercial education. You can see that young people are really looking for a way to move forward.
If we empower the youth in employment opportunities, in conflict resolutions, in leadership skills, in all these youth empowerment activities, the country may develop into a positive direction.
The report, entitled Empowering Youth for Peace and Development, found there was a pervading sense of optimism among Somalia's youth, despite facing significant challenges.
We are agreed all Somalis to become a positivist, or to see everything in a positive way.
sida dhulka la xaalufinayo kaleantood hantibuura waxyaabo badan buu qofka sooshiyaalka ahaan daafacaya. dhulka dhalinyarada wuxuu noqon karaa dhulka dhalinyarada reer Puntland waxay noqon kartaa in horumar meesha hadda tigsi horumar ku weyn ay gaarsiin karaan. qofka aqoon leh society-giisa waxyaabo badan oo ku soo kordhinaya aqligiisa experience-giisa waxyaabo badan oo dhulka ka difaacaya.
Young Somalis want the opportunity to go to school. They want to join the workforce and they want to be involved in political processes. But the report finds that just 1/3 of young Somalis have a job and only half can read and write.
mustaqbalkana waxaan rajeynayaa in dhalinyarada Soomaaliyeed meesha ka soo baxda inaan ka soo baxo macnaha qof waayo aragnimo wax bartay aqoonteedii wax ku tartadkeedii dalkeediiba barnaamijkii waxbarashadeena hadda uu soo socdo insha Allah ilaa iyo hadda dibloomada mar dhow ka qalin jebinayo insha Allah jaamacadda u wareegsanaa degree inaan si dhameystiro hadduu Ilaahay yiraahdo mustaqbalkan waxaan rajeynayaa in future-keyga nafsadeedana wax badan aan u tari karo anigana dalkaygana waxyaabo badan aan u tari karaayo.
Including youth in society is not just about creating opportunities. It is also about limiting risks. Young Somalis who can't find work are more tempted by crime, militancy or piracy, endangering not only themselves but also their communities.
Hadda dhalinyarada ma la siiyo maxaa la dhihi jiray taageeris gooni laakiin qofkii dhalinyarada wax soo bartay hadduu helo maxaa la dhihi jiray garab waxyaabo badan buu wadanka ugu soo kordhinaya society-ga hadduu ay nafsadiisa jooyahay waxyaabo badan buu ku qaban karaa dhalinyarada.
If they have confidence in themselves and the country itself, that they will be going somewhere. It's not pointless. It's something that they can get something from.
The report calls on government, the private sector, civil society and the international community to more actively include young people by developing national youth policies, creating more job opportunities and supporting youth organisations and youth-led initiatives.
The legacy of decades of war, drought and famine in Somalia has meant that tens of thousands of families flee far from home. The youngest lost their childhood, missed out on school, had little direction. But one woman is on a quest to change all that. Mama Hawa Aden Mohammed is a one-woman agent for change in Somalia. She believes youth are key to holding their country together, breaking down barriers of tribal and clan rivalries which have torn their society apart for years. Her starting point, her own Galkayo Education Center for Peace and Development. Basic education coupled with practical skills give thousands of IDP youth a second chance. 16-year-old Falis is one of the many girls supported by Mama Hawa. She came from a nomadic family. Settling down in a classroom wasn't easy. But now that she's almost completed her secondary education, Falis has big dreams.
Alhamdulillah, haddaan iskuulkan jirin waxaan aaminsanaan lahaa anigu inaan hadda heerka aan joogeen macnihii aan waxba barteen ama meelahan iska taagnaan lahaa ama qof aan waxba haysan aan iska guursan lahaa ama qoys dan yar oo qof reer baadiya macnihii aan iska guursan lahaa laakiin hadda fikirkayga waxa ku jirta mustaqbalka xataa inaan madaxweynaha Soomaaliya noqdo.
Winning UNHCR's 2012 Nanston Refugee Award has been a great boost to Mama Hawa and her initiative. In addition to her resource center, she is now building a dormitory. The dormitory will house up to 80 boys and girls, mainly IDPs, who will come to Galkayo to study. Youth who come here will spend more time learning, playing, bonding with each other. This way, their differences won't matter.
Why youth? Because unless we develop our youth in terms of development, in terms of peace, in terms of, the skills they learning, education, training, the learning aspect, in terms of working one another, knowing one another, becoming friends, so you are more of my friends than my clan. So the youth, when you teach them and follow them, it will not be you are my clan, but it will be you are my friends. We are in the same position.
We must put down the gun and pick up the pen. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world." Somalia, let's use education to change our nation. Let's move forward, Somalia. Together, we could achieve this.